thunder of jets in an open sky, a streak of gray, and a cheerful...
A loop, a whirl, and a vertical climb, and once again you'll know it's time for the adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle and friends.
Starring that supersonic speedster, Rocket J. Squirrel, with his pal Bullwinkle the Moose, and a host of others.
Hurry, Bullwinkle! The show's about to start!
I'm coming as fast as I can.
Wave to the people!
Yay!
Now what are you doing?
Signing autographs. Let's see. John Smith.
But your name is Bullwinkle.
I know, but that's hard to spell.
We're gonna have a lot of fun. Come on and join us.
Sure, there's always room for one more.
Our story opens today in our nation's capital, where the news of the attack of the Pottsylvania creeper has just hit the streets.
X-ray plant captures town.
Beats our state militia in 2-hour battle.
Man-eating plant still at large.
Well, Chauncey, that's what I call news.
What's that, Edgar?
Look here. Vegetable bites, man.
In the White House, a cabinet meeting was already in progress. Its main subject, how to deal with the Pottsylvania creeper.
Secretary of State, I say it's a job for agriculture. It's a plant growing in the ground, isn't it?
Of course. That's why it's a job for the Interior Department.
I hear the plant just grew over a state line. That makes it a Commerce Department case.
But it's attacking the country. I think it's a job for the Defense Department.
Nope.
Why not?
It's not a defense plant.
The cabinet wasn't the only group perturbed. All over the country, people began to view plants and flowers with suspicion. The city of Squawkum, Connecticut, started obedience schools for houseplants.
Down, sir! Down, I say!
The North Dakota legislature passed a law ordering all snapdragons and dandelions to be muzzled. And in Mount Vernon...
George, did you chop down my cherry tree?
I cannot tell a lie, Father. It pulled a knife on me.
Meanwhile, back in Frostbite Falls, the man-eating Pottsylvania creeper had just about taken over the town. Its ravenous branches grew into every house, into every barn, into every chicken coop. And as it grew, its evil blossoms took on more and more of a well-fed smile.
Well, at least it doesn't eat just people.
That's better.
Isn't it?
Rock, that means it might also like to munch a moose and swallow a squirrel.
But the absolute worst happened when the Pottsylvania creeper whipped its branches and leaves into a great green tower.
Golly, Bullwinkle, that looks just like a missile.
Yes, the brainy squirrel had guessed it. With a roar, the green leafy missile sailed off the stem and into the air.
Now, why do you suppose it does that?
Just showing off, I bet.
Alas, Bullwinkle was wrong again, for as the leafy projectile reached its apex, it exploded.
Hooray!
No, Bullwinkle, look!
Oh, my stars and body, that missile threw out thousands and thousands of little leafy parachutes.
And every one of them has a seed on it.
Boris, that means there will be thousands of Pottsylvania creepers all over the country.
Makes your blood run colder, doesn't it?
Yes, the Minnesota breeze was scattering thousands of creeper seeds in a wider and wider area.
Bullwinkle, there's only one thing to do.
Move to Canada!
No, somebody's got to catch those seeds.
Impossible!
Maybe, but I got to try.
I'm with you, Rock.
Ellie!
Boop!
And the plucky squirrel zoomed upward and began gathering up the tiny parachutes.
It's working, Bullwinkle, it's working.
Little did Rocky realize that at that moment he was in the crosshairs of a telescopic sight on a rifle in the hands of fearless leader himself.
Very well, bad enough. Pin another medal on me.
What kind, fearless leader?
Sharpshooter.
Gee, was that the shot heard around the network? The one that finally got Rocky?
Don't ask. Pin.
We'll find out next time in It's Only a Flesh Wound or Better Lead Than Dead.
I thought I told you to whitewash the fence, Junior.
I am, Pop.
Well, it isn't necessary to write derogatory remarks about your best friend.
Skinny Aristotle's no friend of mine.
How can you say that? You and he have thrown discuses together for over 5 years.
Well, that's just it, Pop. You get tired of a person in 5 years.
I can't deny that, son. It's like I've always said, familiarity breeds contempt. Just like in the case of the son of the masked clock.
Son of the masked clock?
The masked clock was a fox who had an insatiable appetite for timepieces of all kinds. Every night of the week, he would hold up the stage and relieve the passengers of their wristwatches, stopwatches, and anything else they had so long as it ticked. Of course, as I always say, crime doesn't pay, which brings to mind another fable, which I'll save for later. Anyway, the masked clock, or fox if you prefer, was caught and subsequently languished away in prison. He left behind $20 million, one old pocket watch, and a son named Guy.
As your late father's attorney, it's my duty to turn over this money and this watch to you.
You can keep the watch. Just give me the money.
Not so fast, son. Your father tried to atone for his misdeeds in life. He returned every watch he had stolen, with the exception of this one.
Well, I'll return it, but I would like to spend some of this money first.
And spend it he did. 2 days later at the racetrack, he counted up his losses.
How do you like that? I have already lost $5 million, and I haven't made a bet.
Sitting in a nearby box was a familiar figure.
Have you returned the watch yet, son of the masked clock?
What watch?
The one your father didn't give back.
No, but I will do that tomorrow.
The following day, he took a plane to Monte Carlo, and that evening, standing in front of the roulette table, counted up his losses.
How do you like that? I have lost $10 million, and I still have not made a bet.
Yes, but did you return the watch?
What watch?
The one you're going to tell me you're going to return tomorrow.
Correction. The one I'm going to tell you I'm going to return next week.
Ah, but next week found him in a San Francisco real estate office.
I got $5 million left. I want to invest it in real estate.
2 minutes later, he was the proud owner of Death Valley. 3 minutes later, he was wandering the streets, penniless and destitute.
Oh, well, easy come, easy went.
Just then, he spotted a familiar figure coming his way.
Say, I will bet this is going to surprise you. Today, I am going to return that watch.
What watch?
The one my father never returned.
Inscribed on the back of the watch was the owner's name and address. Off the young fox went to do his deed. Unfortunately, 10223 was the address of the state prison.
I would like to see Mr. Britt, please.
Oh, nobody sees him. He's in solitary confinement for life.
It's my duty to return this watch, and nothing, but nothing, will stop me.
It suddenly struck the young wolf that the easiest way to get into prison was to commit a crime. Seeing a wanted poster of Tommy Gunn, the notorious bank robber, gave him an idea.
Mr. Gunn, I want to join your gang of hoodlums.
Well, you're in luck, Buster, because it just so happens we're short one hood. Be at the last National Bank at 2:30.
Mr. Hoover, Tommy Gunn is going to rob the last National Bank at 2:30. You could catch us all red-headed.
Good work, men. Take them down to headquarters.
Hold it, Chief. This one doesn't go. He's the one who tipped us off.
Congratulations, boy.
But don't I get to go to jail? Look at all this money I just robbed.
Keep it for a reward, boy.
Again, the son of the masked clock returned to the prison wall, willing to try anything to get inside. The fact that it was the darkest night of the year gave him a plan. Rope in hand, he started scaling the wall. But by sunup the next morning, he was still scaling. It was then he discovered he was on the 600th floor of the Gruber building in downtown Bakersfield. And in downtown Bakersfield, this was a felony.
Tough luck, buddy. You'll go to state's prison for this.
Happy day. Now I can return the watch. What do you think the judge will give me? 30 days?
Hard to tell. It's a new judge.
It may have been a new judge, but he had an old, familiar face.
You again. Did you ever return that watch?
Not yet, lawyer of my late father. You see...
Quiet! There's been a rash of Gruber building climbing in downtown Bakersfield, and I mean to put a stop to it. I was going to give you 30 days. Instead, I'm giving you 30 years.
And so the son of the masked clock finally did return the watch. But the fact that he annoyed the judge throughout the years caused him to spend the best years of his life behind bars. So you see, Junior, that is a perfect example of how familiarity breeds contempt.
That's almost right, Pop.
Almost.
Yeah. In this case, I'd say familiarity breeds contempt of court.
And a habeas corpus to you, too, son.
And now for the educational part of our program.
Don't say that or nobody'll watch.
Anyway, here's Mr. Know-It-All.
Hello, friends. Today we take up the problem of how to have a hit record. First, it is necessary to make a record. That part's easy. Oh, palooty-dooty-bitty, rodo-so-titty-fo, zoot. See? But next, you gotta have it played by a top-flight disc jockey. And there's one now. Disc Dawson. Hello, Disc Dawson. You're my favorite DJ. Would you like to hear my latest hit?
No, I'd like you to hear my latest hit.
Sounded more like a hit and run. Now, you may think I'm discouraged, and I am, but the essential thing is he'll remember me. I'll just press my face against the glass here and he'll recognize me. Hello, Disc Doll, remember me?
How could I forget?
If all else fails, you must impress the disc jockey with the prestige of the company that made your record. Hey, look, Mr. Disc Dawson, baby. What do you say to that?
Only one thing to say.
And that is...
Sick 'em!
Gee, Mr. Know-It-All, are you going to make another hit record?
No, I'm out of the record business.
But isn't that a record you're making there?
Nope, it's a pizza! A one mozzarella coming up!
And now it's time
for 5 or 6 baritone solos in the key of E.
But...
If not... Ooh.
Now for another of our special features.
Should have tried E flat.
Don't play with the television set, Sherman. It's bust.
No, it isn't, Mr. Peabody. A spy fixed it this morning.
A spy?
Well, he snuck in the back door and he was all dressed in black.
Well, that doesn't mean he's a spy.
Well, he gave us Secret Service, didn't he?
Oh, dear. I had no alternative but to make Sherman stand in a corner, the one occupied by the Wayback Machine.
Where to, Mr. Peabody?
Well, as long as we're on the subject of spies, let us meet the queen of them all, the legendary Mata Hari. Sherman sent the Wayback Machine for Newcastle, England, in the early days of the First World War. We arrived just as one of the largest ships of its day was about to be launched.
Which one of the people on the launching platform is Mata Hari, Mr. Peabody?
From here, it's hard to tell. She undoubtedly is wearing a clever disguise. It was then I spotted a waiter going up the steps, carrying a bottle of champagne with which the ship was to be christened. That, Sherman, is Mata Hari.
How can you tell?
When a waiter wears high heels, something is afoot.
In the name of His Majesty, I hereby christen this ship.
Don't swing that bottle, Admiral!
Why not?
She blew it up!
We reported the incident to the Counterintelligence Department of Scotland Yard.
Well, if Mata Hari is in England, it means the war effort is in serious jeopardy. Wonder what she'll do next.
Probably steal some secret plans.
I doubt that. We have a steel-proof steel safe here, but we shall check anyway. Oh, dear, what did I do with the combination?
The combination is 6 left, 32 right, back to 8, around once to 0, and right to 3.
Gad, sir, how do you know the combination?
I don't really. It happens to be the phone number of my aunt in Peoria. The heavy door swung open, revealing an empty safe.
Good, she didn't take a thing.
What do you mean, Inspector?
Well, the safe is just a blind. I keep the secret plans in my pants pocket.
We suddenly realized his pockets were gone, along with his pants.
That means Mata Hari got away with the plans.
Yes, and without them, England is lost.
In a desperate attempt to overtake her before she could leave the country, we dashed for the nearest optometrist.
Optometrist? What makes you think she'll be there?
Quite obvious, Sherman. All spies need spy glasses. Suddenly before us loomed a shop owned by a Dr. Focals. Rushing inside, we spotted Mata Hari standing bifocals.
No use making a spectacle of yourself, Mata Hari. We've got the drop on you.
Actually, she had the drop on us, for a trapdoor sprang open and Mata Hari disappeared.
Quick, she'll head for the airport now.
We arrived just as Mata Hari took off in an old de Havilland. We were quick to follow in a new de Havilland.
I didn't know you could fly, Mr. Peabody.
I have a little bird dog in me, Sherman. By the time we were halfway across the channel, we were practically on Mata Hari's tail.
Open fire, Inspector.
Right, sir.
Unfortunately, the inspector misinterpreted Sherman's command. To him, open fire meant to open the cockpit and build a fire. We went down in flames, which was the name of a small French town right near the German lines. We disembarked from our burning plane and took stock of our situation. This, Sherman, is what is known as no man's land. Years ago, it was a lush forest.
But the trees are gone.
That's right, Sherman. This is the Argonne Forest.
You should have saved that one for the ending, Mr. Peabody.
Oh, I have one that's worse than that, Sherman. Right now, our problem is to outwit Mata Hari before she can deliver the secret plans to the enemy.
We shall never catch her now.
We shall not only catch her, we shall pass her. Unmindful of the shrapnel, we ran between the falling bombs and reached the enemy trench a good 45 3/10 seconds ahead of Mata.
Oh, we're in trouble, Mr. Peabody. Look at all the bayonets.
And that gave me an idea. I picked up a string of hot dogs lying in a nearby shell hole and instructed Sherman and the inspector to follow my example. We placed a hot dog at the end of each bayonet. Naturally, the soldiers assumed they were at a weenie bake, and being German, rushed off to get some sauerkraut.
Now what, Mr. Peabody?
Quick, into these uniforms! When Mata Hari got there, she took us for German officers and promptly handed over the secret plans. I, in turn, promptly handed the plans and Miss Hari over to the inspector.
We did it, Mr. Peabody!
Yes, don't we always?
By the way, Mr. Peabody, what was in the secret plans?
Here they are, Sherman. Take a look for yourself.
Oh, my gosh, it's just a picture of a giant blimp.
That giant blimp, Sherman, was to be England's last resort. In the event they were losing the war, the entire British population was to climb into that blimp and fly to safety.
I never heard of that before.
Well, of course you have. Where do you think we got the phrase, one nation indirigible?
Oh, no.
I warned you, Sherman.
What started out as just another flower fair in Frostbite Falls has wound up as a national calamity. For Bullwinkle's entry turned out to be a man-eating plant called a Pottsylvania creeper, which proceeded to take over the whole town. Worse, that plant released thousands of little seed-bearing parachutes. And when Rocky tried to recapture the seeds, he became a moving target for Phyllis Leader. Stunned by a near miss, Rocky plummeted downward, but at the very last instant...
Wow, that was close. What took you so long, Bullwinkle?
Had to run home and get my catcher's mitt.
Oh, boy.
Of course, by this time, the creeper seeds were flung far and wide, and soon man-eating plants were growing everywhere in the United States. In swamps, in deserts, in solid rock, even in city streets. Immediately, the nation took action.
Get me the White House.
Get me the Air Force.
Get me better homes and gardens.
But alas, nobody seemed to know how to attack the creeper. They tried weed killer. They tried flamethrowers. They tried bombs. Nothing worked. Within a few months, even the Empire State Building was nothing but an enormous planter.
Gentlemen, we'll just have to give up and abandon the country.
Well, how do you like those subversive apples, Chief?
Superb, Badenoff. A triumph.
And for your reward,
Yes?
I am taking you both back with me.
Back to Pottsylvania?
Yes.
Oh, boy. Couldn't we have a 5-year vacation in the salt mines instead?
Come along.
And Phyllis Leader led Boris and Natasha to a handy nearby submarine.
I always like to take the 922 sub. It gets you to Pottsylvania in time for the morning executions.
Meanwhile, back in Frostbite Falls...
It's no use, Rock. We've tried everything but kissing that thing goodnight.
That's it, Bullwinkle.
What's it?
We've tried everything but being nice to the creeper.
Being nice to a man-eating plant?
What have we got to lose?
Us.
Nevertheless, at Rocky's suggestion, people did start trying to be nice to the Pottsylvania creepers. They watered them, they fed them vitamin pills, they tucked them in at night, they gave them birthday parties.
Happy birthday, dear Potsy!
And the plan worked. The creepers survived well under the worst of conditions, but they didn't know what to make of kind treatment. They began to wilt.
Oh, Doctor, I'm so worried it hasn't eaten anybody for days.
Mrs. Johnson, you've got a sick plant here. I'd suggest 2 weeks at some nice summer camp.
And in the office of a prominent psychiatrist...
Now tell me, when did you start having these feelings of persecution?
And when the head shrinkers begin to move in, it's the beginning of the end, Rock.
True. Pottsylvania creepers all over the nation had nervous breakdowns, gave up, and simply shriveled on the vine. Do-gooding had doed good. Soon all that remained of the dreadful invasion of the Pottsylvania creeper was one lonesome little seed blowing out over the ocean, where, as fate would have it, it was sucked into the air intake of a mysterious submarine. When the sub came up in Pottsylvania and the hatch was opened, the only thing that emerged was a huge blossom.
And look, Dimitri, it's smiling.
Meanwhile, in Frostbite Falls...
Gee, Bullwinkle, where'd you get all those books on plants and flowers and trees?
I thought you'd never ask. I got them.
Oh, don't say it.
At the...
And so we come to the end of another episode of Rocky and Bullwinkle.
The Branch Library.
Oh, dear.
As if our time is just about run out.
Mine must be a little slow.
You got the credits, Bullwinkle?
All on this itty-bitty card. Oop.
We're late again, Bullwinkle.
Right.
Bye now. See you next time.